Bonjour and dinaway maganda dog. Hello, my relatives. My name's Toka. I'm a climate justice organizer with NDN Collective's climate justice campaign. And we're out here on the streets of Glasgow, where we're taking it to the streets during COP26, advocating for our communities. I'll be intermittently doing interviews with different Indigenous people, part of the Indigenous Bloc.
People outside just want to know that what's happening inside is actually going to get implemented. That's one of the biggest things that we're hearing, is that implementation is not happening. We are not here for lip service. We are here for climate justice and real climate solutions led by Indigenous people. Climate solutions cannot continue to mean that our bodies, our lands, and our health are at stake.
When we're talking about climate justice, we're also talking about keeping resources in the ground, but also, like, when we're talking about land back, we're talking about reclaiming everything that was stolen from us. So when you have corporations, when you have extractive resources coming into our land, they're not only claiming land, they're claiming sacred sites. And when you claim sacred sites, you have less protections, and you have a foreign government coming in and telling you, like, you can't come into your sacred sites, you can't pray here, you can't have access to your water, you can't have access to anything that belongs to you. You create that disconnect from the land and the people. So climate justice is land back.
We know that the systems of power and domination and colonization that got us here are only going to be further ingrained if we are only turning towards false solutions like carbon markets and net zero. We know that real liberty, we know that real liberation and decolonization means having Indigenous peoples at the front of all climate policy. And that means real zero, that means fair share indices, that means no carbon markets, that means keeping it in the ground, and that means land back.
Land back means to me that we have the ability and the authority that's respected by international government to maintain our lands in a traditional manner. Being able to protect our lands, like in Northern California, from raging wildfires. We've been able to maintain our lands for thousands of years, but since colonial contact, they think they know what's best. But now it's affecting not only Indigenous tribes, but it's affecting non-Indigenous tribes, settlers of California, that have been completely burnt out and even lost their lives due to raging fires. We've seen the decimation of our fish. Allow us to be able to manage those fish. Allow us to be able to maintain those rivers in a way that will continue life for thousands of years to come, just like we always have. That's what land back means to me. Land back also means water back.
In Nukalkaluk and Nukalk territory on the northwest coast, we're facing, our mountains are being deglaciated by climate crisis. And so all of our glaciers are melting, and these feed our salmon rivers that we depend on. And so what's happening is the mining companies are coming in to these, like, quote, new areas to try to say, oh, we're gonna mine our way out of this climate crisis, which is totally untrue. The cedar that we're wearing represents our connection to the forest that we're from. These are ancient, like my name is ancient. New schemata is older than the forests in our territory. And so we have a responsibility to fight for our kids and to clear a path and to bring our voices here, because otherwise, how are people going to know what's going on in our territories?
We recognize that colonialism caused climate change. And in that, Black lives, Indigenous lives, brown lives have all been impacted. And as communities, both Black and Indigenous, as communities of faith, we all need to stand up no more for these extraction systems of oppression that continue to harm both Black lives, Indigenous lives, and just lives of color, and to really address climate change at the root. Repair is needed, right? We can't just continue to perpetuate systems of capitalism that perpetuate systems of extraction. So when I say climate justice is racial justice, that is an avenue in which climate change needs to be addressed.
Inside of COP, it's all suits, it's about business, it's about business as usual. There's a tiny little space for the Indigenous peoples, and I feel like the majority of the organizing and the networking and the building relationships piece has been out here with the people, right? And that's where the change is going to happen, with the people, and we're all on the outside.